episode of Breaking Silos with me, your host, Sophia Jamil. In this week's episode, I'll be sharing a conversation that I had with Sheikh Fadilah Ahmad from Brunei, who's had a pretty interesting career. Sheikh Fadilah Ahmad has been a diplomat for much of his professional career, and in his retirement years decided to pick up coffee brewing. But as we'll hear in the conversation, what Chef Fadila didn't realize was how popular his coffee would be with many in Brunei and how he's been able to have a social impact through the work that he does with just simply brewing a good cup of coffee. So, hope you enjoyed today's session and look forward to hearing any comments you have in the comment section. Thanks very much. Enjoy. Abang Fadila, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time. Maybe you can start off by telling us a bit about your journey on how you went from diplomacy to coffee. I mean, what was it that suddenly made you decide to go into the coffee business after such an illustrious career in diplomacy?
Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. I've served in Ministry of Foreign Affairs for almost 30 years, and I've just retired last 2 years. And as part of my diplomacy career, I did serve at the APEC Secretariat in Singapore for good 5 years, and I was Brunei Ambassador to Cambodia for 2 years, from 2011 to 2013. And apart from that, I was mostly working in the ministry in various departments from ASEAN to multilateral economics. Yeah. Before retiring, I wanted to ask myself that what I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure. And the prospect of picking up another job was good because I did receive some offers. But strange enough, I was steadfast in my decision that I want to try something different for a change. I wanted to it's a small business, and I feel that as you get older, I think it's nice if you could pick up new knowledge, and this lifelong learning process. So I decided I was looking at myself like what are my attributes or what can I offer. I, while doing my master's in ANU in 2007, one of the things that I did was after my exam, and while waiting for the results, that I went down to Sydney and enrolled in a coffee barista course at Sydney Coffee School in Pitt Street. And looking back, I never realized that there was my threshold, my turning point of my life now. And I'm so glad that I did it. But at that time, when I did it, I have no inclination whether that it will be very useful to me today. That course in Sydney really opened up my mind about how to brew a good cup of coffee and what are the attributes from water grind size, duration of time of extraction, and choice of beans. And it was a real starting point for me because after that, every time I go on holiday, I will try to look for cafes that brew or sell Specialist Coffee Association coffee. I mean, Specialist Coffee Association coffee is a term that currently being used at coffee with a grade of 86 above, and mostly they will roast Arabica beans instead of Robusta, and I would frequent a lot of these cafes in my travels, like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, UK, and also in Middle East. And I would sit down and talk to barista and asking about their recipes, what their favorite brew, and some kind of extracting technique they've used all the time. And that really opened up my mind about learning more, and it attracted me more about coffee brewing and coffee knowledge. And what I like about this coffee trail is I pick up a lot of friendship along the way as well, from roasters to baristas, and just people who runs the cafe. And one of the things that I like to visit are just small cafes, because small cafes, they're quite passionate, they're quite meticulous in what they do, and they appreciate being you visiting them. So I said to myself, maybe, I just want to start a small cafe for my retirement, and brew coffee, and anybody wants to come say hello to me, I'll be more than happy to have a chat with them, so that my life is not boring, and I have company in that sense. And one of the things I pick up about coffee is coffee pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee pairing basically is the ability to look at what kind of coffee you brew, and what kind of bakes or cakes that can fit in. I mean, for instance, if like a burnt cheesecake, since it's cheesy, I would recommend more filter pour overs. A lot of filter pour overs are lightly roasted coffee, but they brings out quite nice fruity and syrupy notes, tasting notes of coffee. So
Right.
it will complement
That's
what you drink, and maybe
something you don't find in most cafes, like this pairing where you actually give advice and you're giving suggestions on what's the best pair. In most cafes, it's just say, here's your list of, here's the menu for coffees, here's the menu for cakes. You pick in, but you're actually going to
what
check.
you want, just let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to check.
Yes, I want I wanted to bring that to my client, my customers. And the other thing that I've done is I don't want to have a big cafe, because I wanted the interaction between the baristas and the customers are quite close and warm. And because in that way that the barista, I like as a barista, you know your customers well. When Mr. A comes in, or he wants his long black,
Mhm.
and we know what kind of beans it's like, but we still ask him, do you want to have something different? No, I still like my regular. So we build a clientele of regulars, and a lot of them are professionals. Professional, I said, they're either could be pilot, lawyers, or in the armed forces, or they could be engineers, or working in offshore oil rigs, or they could be accountant. So I've created this sort of regular clientele, and rapport with a lot of educators, for instance, and lecturers. So and they will come to my cafe and ask me and say like, look, I want to have my outfit, or what kind of beans you have. And I normally have varieties, because I don't want to pick up just one. I will give them a choice, but I will explain to them what are the kind of tasting notes, either the beans are the locality, and the varietal of the bean. Varietals means either it could be a bourbon or Caturra or Typica, and all they have different tasting notes, especially with the process, either natural wash or fermented. So with the knowledge that I've acquired for the last few years, I'm able to share this with my customers, so that my customer will come and, wow, that's interesting. I've never heard this before, and it become an education process for them as well.
Right, right, right. And 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 I think you were mentioning before, I mean, in our previous conversations, that it's also the people that you've hired. I mean, what you thought would be just a small cafe, it's now become bigger than what you've expected. Okay, maybe you could tell us a bit more about that now. I mean,
Yeah,
the development that it's
yeah,
been.
okay, yeah, yeah. I think one of my sort of ideals was like, just have me on my own, and just sitting down in a cafe, uh, or just receiving clients whenever they come to pick up their bags, and they pick up a cup of coffee. But I realized that to a point, I can't cope with it. I mean, the demand's getting bigger. And when I first started, I started 2 years ago by doing pop-ups. Pop-ups, basically, I joined events, I joined social entrepreneurs groups, and from there, customer get to know me. And at that time, I was already doing filter coffee in bakes. And when I started, I made decision that in 2019, that I think it's time for me to for me to set up my own place. So I started from a home cafe, and for the first 3 months, I just started on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday I was only from 2 to 6, or Saturday 1 to 6, and that's it. And Monday I will take off. Monday I will just rest, and the rest of the week I will just take whole cakes order, and I'll start again on Friday. And what I've done was during the first 3 months, I took time out to pick up my specialist coffee association certification as a barista and brewer. And I did the course and exam, and alhamdulillah, I got my certificate. And I thought it is a good benchmarking for myself, because I know that I'm selling coffee or I'm brewing coffee. There must be some kind of standards, because or else you'll be ended just learning from YouTube, or just watching someone doing it. So I want to be certified in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a good investment for me, and from that I pick up a lot of world coffee standards. Either you serve single shot or double shot, and what kind of milk to use, and extraction machines you need, grinder and stuff like that. So and essentially how to run a coffee shop. So there was good things that I pick up along the way.
Right. I mean, and from what you're saying, from your journey, it sounds like, and as you know, this podcast is about breaking silos, and you
Yeah.
from what you're telling me is that how you've broken your career silos from going from diplomacy to coffee is you just followed what your interest was, and you picked up that interest. You gained more and more interest along the way, and it just sort of snowballed that way. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, you're right. But the other interesting about breaking silo, as you said, apart from the transition, was breaking silo in terms of educating others about coffee knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And the notion that coffee should be black, bitter, is a myth for me. Because when you come and drink coffee that I brew, it could be very fruity, chocolatey. There's no bitterness in the coffee that I brew. Of course, some of the old school will say, "Look, this is not the coffee I drink. This is way uh, too millennial." One could say. But I just following the sort of standards and criteria of a specialist coffee association. That's how things are done in that sense, or how things are brewed. So, but the whole idea, breaking silo to us, to my customers, in educating them about coffee knowledge, how to appreciate coffee better. Uh, like, for instance, how do you store your beans, or if you roast your coffee, what is the time limit that you could use it to make it remain fresh?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and do you buy coffee bean for home brewing, grind it, and then use it? Or so those are the things that I would tell them or educate them. Look, if you should get a grinder, and you just only grind the amount that you want to brew on a daily basis, so you keep your beans fresh longer. And when you drink your coffee brew, you find this nice aroma of coffee that you always wanted, and put a smile in your face every morning.
How many people do you serve? How many coffee cups do you make a day these days?
I started with few cups when I started, but on pop-up we can go up to 30 to 40 cups,
Mm.
depending on events. And normally I will bring special beans, and my beans keep changing. I mean, especially for filter products, I keep to change every month, because I want my customer to try different beans, different roasters, and let them pick up a lot of knowledge about what's the difference between the beans they had last month and this month, and which one do they like. So it becomes a calculated, sort of decision and knowledge for them. Or I like this better, or this is more interesting. And also I'm helping them to develop a coffee palate. Coffee palate is basically you're gonna taste what kind of notes they describe on the on the packet.
Right.
It could be fruity, it could be lemon, it could be floral, and something that I've learned in part of this coffee brewing that some when you read lemon, you think, oh, that's sour, and it's gonna cause you to, like, oh, shriek, like, oh, lemon is a bit, but in coffee world, the lemon tastes like a candy, lemon candy.
Mm.
So it's always on the sweet side,
Mm-hmm.
and like plum, and a plum will be like a wet. Imagine you're drinking like you're eating like a wet plum. It's like the skin a bit sourish but sweet at the side. So, so it's quite interesting. And floral could be honeysuckle, lavender, or it could be herby like bergamot in that sense. But one of the interesting beans that I had was from Yemen, which I brewed at a pop-up. Was it tasted like shisha, but there's no tobacco in it. But it mimics the kind of taste when you had the shisha, and then with a little bit vanilla and cherry, and with a dark chocolate to the end.
That's interesting.
That's so interesting, and till date my favorites is going to be, I have to admit, Yemen beans. And
Mm.
the other thing I tried was now I my new found passion is beans from Myanmar. I just uh, I just found it last year. I mean, well, through social media, and I don't know the roaster, but I did reach out to them. I want to try their beans, and I found they do. I mean, they pick up a lot of knowledge from foreign aid, or some from like USA and UK, sending expertise to help them improve their coffee production and process. So they have beans that tasted like honeydew, melon, berries, and lychee, even fairy floss.
Mm.
So, and I wanted my customers to try it and see, and if they can, enjoy it. And strangely enough, it's quite syrupy, and I like that. And I think, personally, Myanmar beans is quite a rare gem for South Asia.
Interesting. And I think you were mentioning
Yeah.
about your bakes. I mean, there are a lot of bakers, homemade, home-based bakeries that are already happening. What is it about your bakes that keep bringing people back?
I've never been to a baking school, and I would consider myself self-taught. And I always look at recipes. I mean, I always enjoy baking, in my spare time, even when I was a student as well, in UK or in Australia. And normally when I go to a party, I will bring something. It could be a simple apple, cinnamon cake, or like British style. And I like that. And I use that as part of my base. And I think you know that my late mother, Chef Mamuna, who used to be a culinary uh, teacher and teaching baking and cooking. And she had her own show on television Brunei for several years. And I think the program was shown in Singapore and Malaysia as well. And she had two recipe books to date. And I must say, my association over the years with her, that I could pick up some of the skills from her. But I have this flair, uh, you know, but food chemistry, and I mean, I've also watched cooking shows on food networks as well. And what I think I like, I pick up when I was studying Australia, the Australian baking vibes, which is basically using natural products, no coloring, no artificial flavors. I mean, if I want to make it bread, I'll use blueberries or strawberries. If I want to make it flavorful, I could use chocolate, coffee, nuts. To play with textures, and so those are the things that I've seen when I was living in Canberra at that time, and I used to travel to Melbourne, Sydney, and enjoy the cafe. So when I come back, and I said I want to use that as my basis. So over the last 2 years, I created recipes on my own. I mean, one of my bestseller recipes is the burnt cheesecake, and I've realized that I created flavors from matcha to biscoff, Nutella, swirl, and even durian and cempedak. But a lot of this inspiration come from our customer as well. And sometimes you say, "Oh, can you do with fruits, or can you do with flowers?" So it it spurred me that interest or spurred me the creativity to start thinking, okay, how should I do it? Flowers? How should I decorate flowers? How should I decorate fruit? So then I'll present it to them and see if they like it, and that become a trend in itself. You know, creating bakes with decoration in that sense. But over the last 2 years, I created my own recipes like teh tarik cupcake or lychee roast pistachio using real lychees and rose water, and also now I've done banana biscoff, which is like a banana chocolate cake with biscoff biscuits, and I've moved to chai, coffee cakes, and one of my bestsellers using local fruits like cempedak and creating like a simple butter cake. Because cempedak, when you bake, it becomes caramel tasting, and it's quite nice. And I
Mm.
just throw some almonds as topping to give a little bit crunch when you eat it. So these are the things that I've created along the way, and I would come up with new recipes. Like I would deconstruct onde
Right. Mm-hmm.
and come up with a bake using coconut milk, using the same element, coconut milk, shredded coconut, gula melaka, and pandan juice.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, but presented in a baked form.
Right. Right. I mean, they've got
Yeah,
so many
and
varieties.
yeah,
You've got so many varieties of
yeah,
cakes,
yeah.
and how many?
I think I have 60 cakes in the menu now.
Wow. And how many cakes do you make a day or a week?
Well, a day maybe it depends. Like on a heavy on a weekend, I could come up to 12 cakes, and maybe I have to do another 7 for the cafe.
Right. So how many people do you have helping you and working with you in this whole thing?
Um, I started with on my own, and I used to wake up like 5 in the morning, and I don't stop working until 8 or 9. But now I want to get my life. I'll stop everything by 6. And just like cafes close, I stop it. So because I want to have downtime in the evening, catch a show on Netflix or got and with a family or friends for dinner, and just to unwind. And but I have almost 10 staff now, and for in 3 departments from baking to barista to sales.
Right. And how did you go about getting people to join you as staff?
Advertise on Instagram.
And
And what I've done, I just put on IG story, look, a vacancy, sales, barista, baking assistant, send me a CV on my email. And from the CV, I will invite them. If I find they're quite interesting, I will invite them for interview, talk to them. And the first thing I keep telling them, I don't need skills. I can train you. All I need is your patience and your ability or yearn to learn and pick
so
up new skills. Well, I have marvelous staff, and I think I treat myself more as a mentor to them rather than being their own boss, because I think I want to create a teamwork, and I train them, and as I said, we have weekly meetings. We look at our bakes, we look at feedback, customers' orders. We see what works, what doesn't work. We will tweak and from customers' feedback, and I sometimes when I see something, I come with an idea. So shall we try to do this? I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I will bake it, and we had like a food tasting and see everybody's feedback and saying that shall we try and see if customers like this, and we
mhm.
did, and so it becomes everybody play a role in the whole team.
Right. And you were saying that your criteria was that they should be willing to learn and be patient. So if they're willing to learn, that means
Yeah,
you're essentially giving them on-the-job training. Is that correct?
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
What kind of on-the-job training do they gain? What kind of skills do they gain when they're working with you?
I think most important is confidence in oneself, ability to execute tasks well,
Mhm.
ability to work with. other people, interpersonal skills, and customer relations and marketing. Marketing means how do you market yourself to your potential, employer, and how to talk to them, and and also how to sell your products. And every barista and sell know the product very well. I think it's very important in any business or cafe because they become your ambassador. They develop able to sell for you. And sometimes on a busy day when I'm a busy boy, I would just watch them and listen to them what they have to say, and I smile, and I say I'm proud that they know their stuff quite well.
Mm-hmm. And what's been the feedback from your customers?
So far, we have positive feedback. We have a lot of regulars, and we change our menu from time to time so that although we have the staples that people want to buy on a weekly basis. So far, we have a strong positive feedback from customers.
Right, right. I mean, your point about um, when you um, when you're training your the people that are working with you, and you're saying that one of the impacts they have is a building of their self confidence and their people
Yeah.
skills. That is so important nowadays. I mean, those are things you don't necessarily learn in school. It's something you learn on the job, and
You, you,
interacting with people.
you're exactly, yeah, you're exactly okay. I'll give a class example. On my sales or marketing team, we work on WhatsApp, and I can say to my staff, if you're working on today, just introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Zara. I'm successor today. How can I help you? And the amazing things that my customers get to know her, and every time when they want to order something, hi Zara, can you find out if uncle's able to do this for me on certain day, or I need a cake on this weekend. Can you add? So they created a friendship online, and when they come to the cafe, also you're Zara, so so because I think when you do business, it's also human connections as well. So
Yeah.
you bring a lot of warmth, and especially with the customers and in the team.
So can you tell us a bit more about, your customers and the clients that you've had coming through um, Dil Coffee Trail Cafe? Are there any special clients that you and special projects that you think were particularly interesting in your line of work so far?
Okay. For let me share with some events that I done last year, 2020. I was invited 2 years in a row by the psychiatric department from Raja Istri Saleha Hospital in Brunei. Basically, I've been invited to help commemorate World Mental Health Day. This was done in the local hospital, and mental health issues is such an important thing now, especially with COVID. And one of the things that I wanted to help reach out was to get more men to speak up on the issues, creating awareness. So during the event, normally the psychiatric department would do a exhibition, and one of the things that concerns them, like people will have this stigma taboo of going to see the exhibition as being branded, someone mentally ill. So they invited me to set up a pop-up by selling coffee bakes. The whole idea is basically to socialize the issue so that people come forward, look at the exhibition, and there are little corners that people can, sit down with a counselor, more like a chat, and asking questions, anything that comes to mind. And and that was one event. The other event was I was invited by Pantai Jurudong Special Center, and they did a men's mental health talk as well. But I also created sort of awareness about men's health and by joining a pop-up. Uh, and I've worked with local banks like BIBD and also local telco, Progressive in part of their marketing campaign and trying to introduce customers to their services. So those are the things that I've worked on last year. And I find it very interesting because it gave me an opportunity to meet some of my customers personally and also to get feedback from them.
What are your plans for the future, um, moving forward in the next 5 years or so?
That's a long way to go.
Okay, no,
I'm
it's
going to
fine.
take. Well, to be honest, I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, and I have to just look back last year. I found my leap has been tremendous, and I started with my own barista, baker, and doing sales, and I have a team of 10. And alhamdulillah, I think I'm very happy with that. But I would love to expand the cafe if I have opportunity. That will be my immediate term. And I want to procure better espresso machine. I have something in mind, but I want to keep it a secret. Yeah, because
Okay.
yeah, and I've been working with coffee roasters from Myanmar, from Malaysia, and I do buy beans online as well. I have a team of local roasters that I work with as well. So I must say that I enjoy working with small business. I think small business are it's important for you to highlight them and showcase them, help them grow.
Right.
And I'm happy to receive feedback that some of the beans that I buy from a local from small roasters they're able to expand on business by procuring better roasting machine, and I much appreciated hearing that.
Mm-hmm. I guess to wrap up, given all this experience that you had in breaking silos and venturing into your passion, what advice would you give to someone who wants to break silos and follow their passion?
First, believe in yourself. It doesn't matter if nobody believes in you, but if you believe in yourself, there's the first starting point. And I started with nothing. I mean, not that. I mean, I started with skills that I quite a few years ago, and I said to myself, if I fail, it doesn't matter. At least I tried. That was my strength when I started 2 years ago, and I started with like I mean, if you want to do open a cafe or do coffee or bake, you started I think being present on social media, uh, and then join pop-ups. Pop-ups are where that you start testing your markets and see when you have customers. And if customers like it, they start to go to your place or your home business, for instance. And this is where your business will grow. And one of the things that I pick up as well, I become to network with local suppliers as well, from baking ingredients to packaging. And I must say that I'm very happy with their support to me. And I also been working with local banks who've been very nice, helping me to grow by giving me uh, special banking facilities like online banking, or customers can pay banking transfers or credit card. So these are the little things that really going to help your business to grow.
Right. So
And lastly, find a niche. Find a niche that you're comfortable with. It doesn't have to be a cafe. It could be beauty products, selling thrifty clothes or fashion wear, or just doing a service that you could write calligraphy for weddings or do floral and maybe little trinkets. So find your own niche and see where your passions are and develop it. And there's so much inspiration you find on social media today.
right, right. And so I guess to sum up, it's 3 points of believe in yourself, and then second, to be visible in whatever you're doing, and don't be shy to ask for help or engage different stakeholders, and you don't lose anything by asking and connecting with other people and other partners. And the third is to be specific in what you want to do. Would that be correct?
Yes, affirmative.
Great.
Well said. Well said.
Do you have any other last words you'd like to say about uh, Dil Coffee Trails, or anything else you'd like to say to the listeners here?
I just find it amazing that I think business can be universal these days and through social media. And one of the best Christmas story that I had last month was I had a British couple who are teachers in Brunei, and I got a message from one of the teacher's mom asking me to prepare a Christmas brunch for them, and it was a surprise, and I did for them at the cafe 2 days before Christmas, and I did explain to them, who paid for all these meals and the presents and the gift, and I find that having the ability to make someone happy is such a great gift, and I might not know the mom from UK, but we become friends on WhatsApp now, and I find that when you're doing business, you're doing service like that. I think it's such a wonderful thing to do, and
I
making
see.
people smile and happy. Yeah.
So the mom found you on WhatsApp, not
Uh,
online. And
no, on my Instagram,
oh,
and actually it was the son that telling, oh mom, I've been to Deals and such a great guy, and we love going having coffee there. So, and since they can't go back to UK because of COVID, so the mom decided that maybe Deal could help, you know, help them celebrate Christmas and present them with some gift.
oh, that's so sweet.
So yeah, I think it was like I never imagined such a story, but I think it was one of the best stories that I had last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Oh,
Okay.
oh, thank you,
Okay.
Makaya, for this
Thank.
all this great insights and experience.
Yeah.
Wow, we hope all the best for the Dil Coffee Trails. I hope, inshallah, after COVID, I have a chance to go to
Hey,
Brunei.
you also welcome. Yeah. Let's pray that maybe COVID will win and soon, and we'll be together again. Thank
Yes,
you so much for having me on the show, Sophie. It's
thank
super
you
wonderful to
so
be
much.
on Breaking Silo.
Thank
Okay.
you
All
very
the
much.
best.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.